Okay, Live on Purpose family, are you ready to stop taking things so personally? 3 simple questions are going to help. Pay attention to this video because you're going to see some things that will immediately bring you some more peace as I help you understand how to operate the equipment of your own mind. I've got you on this. The first thing that we need to understand is that there's a personal and an impersonal component to everything. Some of you have been coming to the coaching calls over at Live on Purpose Central, where we really get into some detail on this. And this comes up quite a bit when people share their circumstances, and it's obvious that they are taking it very personally. When I say that there's a personal and an impersonal component to everything, just check this out. The personal component is that it's you. It's happening to you. It's your life. It's your relationships. And that's why it feels personal. It is you. But the impersonal part is, it doesn't matter that it's you. This kind of stuff happens to people, to humans, to our other fellow travelers on planet Earth. And in that way, it's not about you. Plus, everything that people share with me on those coaching calls, I've heard before. I've been a shrink for 30 years. You can't shock me. And I've heard it. That doesn't mean that you've experienced it before, but it does mean that other people have, okay? Other people on the planet have already been through some version of whatever it is that you're going through right now. That's the impersonal part. I remember, and I share this in my book, Pathological Positivity, a time when I was discovering something about my own voice. I have a neurological voice disorder. It's called spasmodic dysphonia. Every time I mention that, I get messages from some of you who are experiencing the same thing. And it's basically spasms that occur in my vocal folds that are caused by a little dysfunction in my brain. And it causes these spasms. So sometimes you'll hear my voice get a little strangled or strained. And if you've been on the channel or hanging out with us here at Live on Purpose for very long, that just sounds normal to you. It still doesn't sound normal to me. And for me, it takes effort every day to create voice. It's the strangest thing. But I remember when I was first diagnosed, this was back in 2002. I remember it was the same year that the Olympics came to Salt Lake City. And I was working as a volunteer for the 2002 Winter Olympics. I served for the Finnish National Olympic Committee. I was one of their liaisons with the Salt Lake organizing team. And what a great experience. But I'm anchoring it to that because that's also the same time that I finally found a doctor who could diagnose this condition. And he told me at the time, he said there's about, I think he said 30,000 people who have this condition. And that number just jumped out at me, 30,000 people. And then I was like, wait, is that a big number? I don't know. It depends on what you compare it to, right? Well, I live about 5 miles from LaVell Edwards Stadium. That's the big football stadium where the Brigham Young University football team does all of their games. And it holds about 60,000 people. So I pictured that stadium half full. And I'm thinking, wow. But then I realized that's in like the country. There's 30,000. And it suddenly looked like a small number. But here's the shift that happened for me and why it relates to taking things personally. When I was first being diagnosed with this condition, one of the thoughts in my head was, why me? Which is kind of a victim paradigm. If you say it in a whiny voice, especially, why me? I'm a good person. But when I found out there are 30,000 other people on the planet, or at least in my country, who have this disorder, my thoughts went to, why them? See, and as long as I was asking why me, I was taking it very personally. It's like, there must be something wrong with me, or maybe I deserve this, or maybe I've got some unresolved sins that God is punishing me for, or whatever. I mean, our mind does these weird things to answer the why me question. When I thought, why them? I wasn't taking it personally anymore. I could see that all of those arguments I was coming up with in my own head didn't fit them. I couldn't make the argument that they are doing something wrong or have these unresolved issues in their life that are causing this to happen. No, it's simply a neurological condition that affects a certain number in the population. And then the question changed for me from why me to why not me? I want you to just try this on for a minute, because what does that change for you? If you stop asking why me and taking it so personally, and you say why not me, because a certain percentage of people are going to get this, why not me? Am I not just as qualified to have this as they are? And probably better qualified in some way. Vicky, my wife, is a speech language pathologist. She was fascinated with this condition from an academic standpoint. But it changes that personalization. See, that's what shifted for me, going from why me to why not me. Here's another example of that. What kind of people get into car accidents? Now, notice how your brain is calling up, well, there's distracted people, there's drunk people, there's people who are being careless or trying to text or whatever, okay? Yes. And who are they going to hit? Look, the kind of people who get into car accidents are the kind of people who get into cars. Are we clear? So why not me? I get into cars all the time. That's the thing about the impersonal component. The personal part is it's you that has the diagnosis or that got into the car accident or that experienced the trial. It is you. But that's where the personal part ends. It's not about you. Okay, it's about a legitimate human experience that other citizens of the planet are going to experience as well. Why not you? Notice that the taking things personally is about what we're thinking, not what's happening to us. That's an important distinction. I've got 3 questions that are going to help with this. Before I get to the questions, take a moment to share your experience with this. I told you about my spasmodic dysphonia, this diagnosis with my voice. What is it that you have that maybe you've been taking personally that this is going to change now that we can identify the impersonal side of it? What have you experienced? Put it in the comments, would you? I would love to read what you have to share about this. And by the way, between me and my team, we read all of the comments. We're going to try to respond to as many as we can too. So put your thoughts down below. Let's get a conversation going about that. Now, here's those 3 questions that help us to take things less personally. Number 1, who is this really about? We already know that there's a personal and impersonal component. When you say, who is this really about? Here's another example. Let's just say that I'm walking down the street. Maybe going out for lunch or just taking a walk during a break, okay? And suddenly 2 guys in this muscle car pull over, jump out, beat me up, take my phone and my wallet, and they speed off. I get mugged. All right, who is this really about? Now, the personal part is, well, it happened to me, but the impersonal part is, it's not about me, it's about the poor decision of those 2 thugs in the muscle car. Do you see this? Who is this really about? Sometimes that allows us to step back from it enough that we're not taking it quite so personally. Here's the second question. Now brace yourself, because this one's a little tough. How did I contribute to this or create this? Go back to the mugging example for just a minute. How did I create this? It wasn't my bad choice. It's not my fault. Okay, so these are the ways that our brain is sometimes going to process it. But I'm asking you to ask a specific question. How did I contribute to this? Well, I took a walk. Now notice, I'm not saying I did anything wrong. I'm not saying I shouldn't have taken the walk. That is simply the element that I contributed. Notice we're getting away from blame. Blame is a victim paradigm. Blame is all about finding someone or something rather than taking personal responsibility. Own your part. And your part doesn't mean that you're at fault. Do you hear the difference? I simply took a walk. It's not that I did anything wrong, but that's how I contributed. Now, this is important because until we identify our own part of something, we have very little control over moving it forward in any productive way. We don't want to get trapped in a victim mindset where it's like, it's not my fault, and then blame someone or something else for where we are. Look, I walked to that place. An unfortunate thing happened, but it's not about fault. See, that's just my part. Because that leads us to the third question. What can I learn from this? This is an acknowledgement of the immense value of every experience that we can have. Yes, it was painful. Yes, there was a loss involved in the example that I'm sharing with you. And often life's experiences can be expensive and or painful. And they carry powerful lessons of life. What can I learn from this? Without taking blame, I can simply extract the value from this experience. And be judicious about what it is that you extract. If we use the example of taking a walk during my lunch break, I could learn, oh, I should never take a walk, or come to that conclusion. Or I could say, it is true. Things happen. Hard, painful, difficult things happen to good people who don't necessarily deserve it. Okay. And then use that to increase my empathy and understanding and acceptance of how other people are having difficult experiences as well. That's another example of something that you could learn. What you learn from it is up to you. The experience sometimes is not something that you can change. We can't just demand to have a better past. But we can extract the value from whatever it is that occurred. I've come to believe that things happen for us, which is a little different take on things happen to us, but notice the difference in energy that creates for you. What if everything that you're experiencing right now is for you, is to give you the rich gift of knowledge or experience that you get to use moving forward? I think these three questions are going to really help you to take things less personally. I hope you've found some value from that. Cue up that next video if you want to take this to the next level. I'm going to help you know how to reprogram your mind to stay strong and positive. I think you're going to enjoy that one as well.